Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 28th of July 2022. These are the stories that we'll be discussing in detail during the course of the show. We'll begin with the deteriorating situation of the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front chairman Yasin Malik Saab. A lot of important leaders have talked about this deteriorating health. Nevertheless, India is not moving a finger or the international body as far as the rights for the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, whether it be our Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Saab or the senior leader of the all parties Hurriyat, the conference Mirwais Umar Farooq. They have all reiterated the fact that Yasin Malik Saab's health continues to deteriorate as he is on a hunger strike. This is going to be our first story, the deteriorating health of Yasin Malik Saab and the non-commitment of India or any world body as far as moving forward as far as the rights of the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir are concerned. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns of course Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Saab, who is leading a Pakistani delegation at the two-day Shanghai Council of Foreign Ministers meeting in Tashkent from today. This is a two-day conference that is being held in Uzbekistan. It's a very important meeting. It will lay the grounds for the heads of state meeting that is going to be held later in September this year. The importance of the SCO is paramount under the current geostrategic and geopolitical scenario that is evolving across the world and in this region as well. And the fact that it consists of very important countries is also very important, as many important topics could be discussed during this meeting. And of course, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab is also going to meet other of his compatriots from different countries of the SCO during this two-day visit. This is going to be our second story, that is the importance of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Then we are going to talk about India's mischievous attempt to mix politics with sports, as a result of which Pakistan has decided not to participate in the 44th Chess Olympiad that is being held in India. Pakistan has also said that it is going to raise the matter with the International Chess Federation at the highest level. Why? Because the flame, the torch for this Chess Olympiad ran through Srinagar, which is a politically contested area, and of course something that both Pakistan and India have been contentious about since 1947, and of which the people have always said it is not part and parcel of India. Nevertheless, India has been stating that, but it raises a lot of question marks as far as which direction India is taking as well. Then we are going to talk about the rupee's losses that continue today as well. The rupee ended at 239.9 to the dollar. What are the different reasons for this? We'll briefly go through them as well. Then we'll finally talk about a team of Pakistani researchers who have developed a low-cost antibacterial fabric that could be used in wound dressing, in lab coats, in masks and various type of packaging material. It's interesting, it's important under the current context of the different diseases that are engulfing the world, including Pakistan. Let's come with our first segment, start with it, and talk about Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and Yasin Malik Saab. Now Yasin Malik Saab, the Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front chairman, is on a hunger strike and his condition deteriorates with every passing day. He has been admitted to a hospital, and a lot of important people have raised concerns over this. More in the following report.
The struggle for the right to self-determination in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is indigenous, but Indian government is trying to dampen freedom movement by the draconian strong-arm tactics. In a bid to suppress the voice of indigenous Kashmiri leaders, BJP government has started implicating them in fictitious and motivated cases. The conviction of Kashmiri leader Yasin Malik by an Indian court after a sham trial in dubious and motivated cases indicates the victimization of true representatives of the Kashmiri people. According to Kashmir Media Service, Hurriyat leader Muhammad Yasin Malik was shifted to a hospital after his health deteriorated at New Delhi's infamous Tihar jail, where he was on a hunger strike for the past many days. Foreign Minister of Pakistan Bilawal Bhutto Zardari stated that Yasin Malik continues to suffer for his legitimate political resistance to India's illegal occupation of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Foreign Minister rejected this judicial persecution and demanded his immediate release. Last week, Pakistan strongly condemned India's move to implicate the Hurriyat leader in two more fictitious cases, which have been crafted around incidents that took place more than 30 years ago, terming it a clear attempt to perpetuate the political victimization. Yasin Malik's judicial persecution and the motivated cases conjured up against other Kashmiri leaders is a proof of the malicious Indian campaign being run to deprive Kashmiris of their true leadership.
Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja Saiba, who is a foreign affairs expert, joins us online. Dr. Saiba, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saiba, Yasin Malik's health continues to deteriorate. He is in the hospital, the Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital in Delhi, shifted this evening by the authorities. Despite him going on hunger strike since the 22nd of July, saying that his case has not been investigated properly, why is there not a finger budging? Why is there not a single move being made, whether by the international bodies or by India itself?
Maybe there is not a single move at international level because, as I always say, maybe his voice, the sacrifice of Mr. Yasin Malik is not reaching out to those ears or those people who matter in international affairs. And this, the story of Yasin Malik always reminds me of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was also leading a struggle against the apartheid, but when he started negotiations and when he chose to talk with the oppressor, he became the prime minister or president of South Africa. But unfortunately, Yasin Malik was one of those leaders who initially, when there were talks going on between former President Musharraf and Indian leadership regarding different confidence building measures to resolve the long-standing issues between Pakistan and India, Yasin Malik was among the first Kashmiri politicians and leaders who laid their arms and who started the non-violent movement to lead the legitimate case of Kashmir freedom struggle. And this is what India always does. India always change the goalposts. When Yasin Malik, because it was India's demand that first you have to lay your arms and then we will negotiate with you. When Yasin Malik did that, after that, even then Yasin Malik is unable even to negotiate on the charter of freedom of Indian illegally occupied Indian Jammu and Kashmir. So this is what India's true face is, and this is what India always does with people or with the leadership which trust India for peaceful conflict resolution of Kashmir conflict. So Yasin Malik is himself in the court. He stated that he is a torch bearer of non-violent freedom struggle, and this is how on decades old cases, rotten cases, this is how India is implicated. India is torturing this phase of peaceful Kashmiri freedom struggle. So this is really unfortunate, but I seriously think that Pakistan needs to upgrade its struggle to save Yasin Malik. If international community is not speaking, thankfully our foreign minister stated and seriously condemned, our foreign office condemned all this what is happening against the conduct of Indian government against Yasin Malik. But we have to take actions. We have to reach out to the international humanitarian, international court of justice, international criminal court. We have to take this issue to the international human rights organizations and all those, the Amnesty International, and to some extent, why not UNO's General Assembly, these relevant forums. And we have to tell the world the story of Yasin Malik, who is a staunch believer of the freedom of Jammu and Kashmir, of the freedom of
But Dr. Asma, isn't this the very reason due to which his case is not being pleaded by the countries or by India itself? Because he's he's talking about the rights of the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the right to self-determination of the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Isn't this the main reason why he is on life imprisonment? Maybe is this not the reason why he is being denied all kinds of help or assistance whatsoever?
Yeah, Umar, I don't want to go into past, but when we see the trends of India regarding resolution of Kashmir conflict since 1947, whenever the cost of freedom struggle is higher, then the stamina of Indian government or Indian forces, they opt for negotiations. We can see they went to UNO in then, and then all this. But when they somehow control the situation and dismantle the armed struggle by indigenous armed struggle by Kashmiri freedom fighters, then they start about then they do this, like they don't want, and they want to indulge in the political negotiation. They don't want to talk with those leaders. Sometimes they murder them, sometimes they just abandon them. And this is how they deal with the heat of the freedom struggle, deal with the economic, political, social and human cost of the freedom struggle. And this same is happened when it comes to Yasin Malik and other leadership of Kashmiri freedom struggle. Yes, Yasin Malik is talking about non-violence. Yasin Malik is talking about political struggle to for the freedom of illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But the problem is that he is facing a regime in India, BJP under Modi leadership, which does not understand the language of peace, which does not understand the language of love, which does not understand the language of non-violence. And this is the political mantra of Mr. Modi. This is the political electoral slogan of Mr. Modi, anti-Congress. And this is how in today's India, instead of Gandhi, his murderers are the hero. They celebrate the days of those murderers, that person and the organization that person was working for. So Gandhi is no more a hero in the popular vote bank structure of India. So this is what maybe, and that is why I think Yasin Malik, if he and this hunger strike is manifestation of the height of this helplessness. Yasin Malik is so helpless. He is so pessimistic about the Indian justice system. He is so pessimist about the whole political democratic structure he is existing, that it is the last resort that he is inflicting harm on himself through this hunger strike. I remember when he started this hunger strike, his daughter was appealing to him, to her father, that please don't do that. But he is so helpless and in pain, and he has zero faith in the system, in that system of oppression, that he is doing this just to free himself from the clutches of Indian
That is so true,
subjugation,
Dr. Asma.
Indian
You know,
torture.
you pointed out one very important thing, the human cost. And Yasin Malik Saab's case is exactly the human cost of the deprivation of the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the denial to the giving the rights, human rights to the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And when somebody speaks about it, when somebody is adamant to talk to anybody and everybody about these rights of the people, his voice is muted, and if he continues to speak, he is incarcerated. If he continues to speak, there is life sentence on the person. If he continues to speak again, then he is not even given a fair trial, and he is not even allowed to speak on his behalf during the trial against him. You know, this is a continued persecution of people who are only talking of human rights and values of the human and justice and equality. Isn't that what India is all about? Pluralism? Isn't that India all about democracy? I think these two words should be eliminated from Indian constitution as of now, the way it is treating its people.
Yes, Umar. And see, Yasin Malik is a famous political leader. He has following in public, and this is the attitude, the behavior, this is the level of oppression he is facing despite being a famous political Kashmiri leader. So just imagine what a common Kashmiri is facing under this I would call it systemized ethnic cleansing in Kashmir carried out by Indian armed forces under the instructions of Modi regime. So just imagine the misery and plight of a common Kashmiri. And because this Yasin Malik's case is even comparatively more into more is been covered in the media, and people are speaking about it. And this reminds me that if Indian government is has this fake trial against Yasin Malik, then in Indian illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, all those military officers and soldiers who committed war crimes against indigenous Kashmiri population, and the cases against them were registered by their own institution and the local governments in Kashmir. All of those people have not been trialed, and their cases were shelved, not only shelved, but they were given the gallantry awards by the Indian armed forces. So this is the face of democracy. This is the level of oppression Indian armed forces are carrying out in illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where crimes against humanity, where war crimes are a matter of pride for every soldier standing on this illegally Indian occupied soul or land. So this is a really sad scenario. Yasin Malik's case is only the tip on of the iceberg,
Of
and
course.
and we cannot analyze it exclusively. We need to analyze it in connection in the whole structure it is existing. Why in 70 after 75 years, a peaceful believer of non-violence Kashmiri indigenous Kashmiri leader is suffering all this torture, blackmailing, harassment, fake trials, and is imprisoned without committing any crime, because I asking for the basic human right, which is right to self-determination, which is right to freedom, is being identified as the basic right of every
Of course,
individual
that is a basic
living
right.
on
It's a
this
basic
earth.
human right, Dr. Saiba, and the fact that this is being denied to him and so many other
And
Kashmiri
another
leaders.
thing, Umar, yeah, and another those Indian hypocrites, those that government of radicals in India, they themselves they celebrate Bhagat Singh and all those. They make fake stories to create Hindu heroes who fought against oppressors, who fought against invaders, and this is their true face. What they do when someone peacefully asks them to grant him or his nation the right of basic human rights and right to self-determination, to end a colonial rule. We all know that India is a colonial power in Jammu and Kashmir under any definition of nation and of colonization as per international law or international humanitarian law. We all know that. But somewhere, I still believe we need to strengthen our case. We need to prepare ourselves to the best and take these cases to the international community. And this reminds me all those innocent Kashmiris who just on road during COVID-19 asked for access to health facilities, which is the basic human rights, and they were not given that right. Instead, they were imprisoned for years. This reminds me the case of those innocent Muslims who were arrested during when there were violence conducted against them by Hindu radicals, and instead they were arrested. The Indian government would arrest the Hindu radicals. They arrested those innocent Muslims, and now for years they are imprisoned. This reminds me of Rana Ayub, who peacefully with the power of her pen writes about the deplorable conditions of Indian Muslim,
And all
writes
the other
about
journalists who've been imprisoned or their voices muted
yes
as a result of the
yes.
fact that they were trying to speak out the truth.
Yes. And this reminds me a young girl few years back. Her name is just slipped out of my mind. But few years back, she started a social media campaign because her father was killed in the Kargil war. And but when she grew up, and he was from Indian Punjab, and when she grew up, she started a social media campaign that Pakistan did not kill my father, war did. So the leaders of both nations should find a solution to war. And this one single innocent truth was not digestible by the Hindu radicals, and that poor girl who was merely 18 or 17 or 18 at that time, she faced death threats, she faced the threats of rape, she faced the threat that we will kill your whole family and you are a traitor. And this is the true face of Indian government. This is the true face of Indian radicals who don't even care that if her father lost her life, and she, being the daughter, paid the price of being an orphan whole her life. And if he is saying something, listen to her misery or her
But
opinion with
Dr. Asma
respect.
Khawaja,
So this
to be
is
very frank, if India listened exactly to what its people wanted, if it listened to the rights of the people, whether it be in India or in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we would not be raising this voice at all. Yasin Malik Sahab would have got what he wanted, the right to self-determination, the plebiscite that the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir have been demanding since time immemorial. Let's hope, I don't know how this is going to turn out in the next couple of days. The situation for Mr. Malik is quite precarious right now. All we can do is sit tight and pray for his health and pray for the future of the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I pray that some sense, some sanity comes to the minds of those who are ruling India. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma Shakir Khawaja Sahiba, foreign affairs expert, to have joined us, to have talked to us about Yasin Malik Saab. But Yasin Malik Saab is a very important player in a huge, important right to self-determination for the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, a right that he has been talking for, fighting against since so many years, even giving down, saying that he wants to pursue a Gandhian attitude towards it. Nevertheless, the Indian government is not listening to it. His wife, Mashal Hussain Malik Sahaba, has also urged the United Nations, European Union, Human Rights Organization and World Power to build pressure on the Hindutva regime to not only save Yasin Malik's life, but to ensure his safe release. I hope you are listening. Let's come to our second story, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns the SCO, our Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Saab, who is leaving for Tashkent for a two-day important summit of the foreign ministers of the SCO. And it's not only an important meeting because in the context of the preparation of the future meeting of the heads of state of the SCO in September, but also the fact that he will be able to talk to many of his counterparts from important countries from the SCO as far as the geopolitical or geostrategic situation of the region is concerned. More in the following report.
Regional organizations like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization are perhaps the best fora to strengthen regional security and preserve world peace. The SCO is a major trans-regional multilateral organization with 8 members, including China and Russia. SCO countries are home to 41% of the global population and account for 23% of the global GDP. The resolve of the SCO to fight the menace of terrorism, promoting regional peace and security, and working for shared economic prosperity are very much in harmony with interests of Pakistan. Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari will lead Pakistan's delegation to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Council of Foreign Ministers meeting in Tashkent, and the invitation to attend this meeting was extended by the acting Foreign Minister of Uzbekistan. Secretary General of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Ambassador Zhang Ming, earlier visited Pakistan. The 4-day visit of the SCO Secretary General provided an important opportunity for consultations at the highest level and greater understanding of Pakistan's expectations from the organization. Prime Minister Mia Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif assured Pakistan's full support in fulfillment of the purposes and objectives of the SCO. Appreciating the comprehensive development agenda of the SCO, the Prime Minister emphasized that the core purpose of the entity remained the growth and prosperity of the SCO region.
Khalid Taimur Akram Saab, who is the Executive Director of the Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future, or the PRCCSF, joins us online. Thank you very much, Khalid Saab, to have joined us. Khalid Saab, the SCO, how important do you feel the organization's role becomes now in the current geopolitical or geostrategic, of course, changes that are happening in this region and in the world?
Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or commonly known as SCO, has basically the permanent members which belong to all parts of the Central Asia, India, China, Pakistan, and Russia. It is termed as equivalent to NATO in within the European circles. SCO has always been playing a very important role for the regional connectivity, and Pakistan has become the permanent member of SCO in April 2017. And now Pakistan is playing a very important role in SCO, especially for the Afghan peace. And also, Pakistan has been effectively promoting the regional cooperation in terms of Belt and Road in terms of the Belt and Road Initiative.
All right. Now, also, Khalid Saab, when you look at the objectives of the SCO foreign ministers meeting this time, I see two important points: deliberating upon important regional and international issues and improving the decisions and documents to be presented at the SCO Heads of State Summit that is going to be held in Samarkand in September of this year. Let's come to the first one: important regional and international issues. There are so many, whether it be Afghanistan, whether it be Sri Lanka, whether it be the Russia-Ukraine war, whether it be the Indo-Pacific strategy of the United States, whether it be the tussle between the US and China. There are so many important issues to discuss during the course. What do you feel are the most important amongst all of these?
Yes, first of all, the most important I feel is the issue of Afghanistan. Just 2 days back, Uzbekistan hosted a conference on the development of Afghanistan, and I happened to attend that meeting. And in that meeting, the representatives of 30 countries attended that meeting, in which the Afghan development was discussed. And for the SCO foreign ministers meeting, as I was told once I was in Tashkent, I was told by the Uzbek side that they have kept the Afghan development agenda at the top. Also, there is a project of Uzbekistan, Pakistan railway line through Afghanistan, which would connect Central Asia with Gwadar port. That is also very important for the Central Asian countries. And also, of course, the Russia-Ukraine war will also come and will be discussed in this meeting, since the foreign minister of Russia is also his point of view on this war. And about China, the Chinese foreign minister will also be attending. The Chinese foreign minister will mostly be concentrating on the progress of various charters of the SCO. As we know that SCO also calls upon the member states for more trade among themselves, and unfortunately, due to the harsh behavior of Indian side, even in the SCO, we have seen that the regional trade has not been up to the mark. And I hope and pray that this time the Indian side will have some sense, and the Indian foreign minister, who will be also attending this meeting, will cooperate with the SCO member states.
Now, Khalid Saab, if you remember some days back, Zhang Meng, who's a Secretary General of the SCO, visited Pakistan. A lot of important details were discussed during his 4-day visit to Pakistan, and one of the things was the Shanghai Spirit. How important do you feel is this Shanghai Spirit, and how much do you feel it will be deliberated upon during the meeting of the foreign ministers?
Yes, if we go back to the history of the SCO, SCO was initially formed as Shanghai 5. Actually, that was basically China's cooperation with the Central Asian countries. And later on, China included other countries in it, and it became Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So the Shanghai Spirit, basically, if we go back and if we see in the literal meaning, it is basically China's cooperation with the regional countries, which now involves Pakistan, India, and South Asian countries. And it also revolves around the connectivity between the Central and South Asia, because for China, CPAC is one of the important in the 6 corridors of the Belt and Road Initiative. And since the CPAC is to be completed by 2030, all the corridors will also be completed by that time. So now this is the time that the Shanghai Spirit, the actual Shanghai Spirit which China is calling upon is to start the regional connectivity through regional trade, through cultural connectivity, through exchange of cultural troupes to understand each other, so that in times to come the Belt and Road Initiative, which is the infrastructure project, would turn up into a good regional connectivity trade platform.
All right, Khalid, let's talk about spoilers such as India. You remember very well just 1 or 2 days back that India had objected as far as extending this China-Pakistan economic corridor is concerned. Do you feel it might change its mind during the course of this SCO moot or during the heads of state meeting that is going to be held in September? Or do you feel that India is going to be adamant as far as its point of view is concerned, as far as the CPEC is concerned?
Yes, this is very interesting because just 3 days back, once I was in Tashkent, I happened to talk to the Indian delegation over there, and I was quite amazed to find out that India is still not ready to become part of Belt and Road program, because India still hopes that America and the European Union will materialize that so-called dream corridor which India is planning. So India is not likely to accept Belt and Road Corridor, the Belt and Road Initiative program, not in this SCO, not on this SCO platform, but maybe China and India can negotiate later on, and India would become part of CPEC or Belt and Road. But personally, I feel that in times to come, India will have no other option other than joining the regional corridors, because all the regional countries surrounding India are not only part of these Belt and Road Initiative programs and corridors, may it be Bhutan, may it be Nepal, may it be Sri Lanka, may it be Pakistan. So all the Central Asian countries, and South Asian countries are part of this program. So in times to come, India will get isolated and they will offer to China to become part of it. But right now, it is not on India's agenda, and they are still very hopeful that the European Union and America would help India in forming a trade corridor between India and Europe.
Now, with this adamant attitude as far as India is concerned, where does that leave the main objectives of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that talk about promoting mutual confidence and good neighborly relations among member states and strengthening regional peace, security and stability?
Let me take you back to the moment Mr. Vajpayee came to power, Mr. Modi came to power. If you remember, he had a slogan that neighbors first. But now, once he's at the end of his second tenure, we have found out that with neighbor first, he means that he would start fighting with all the neighbors. And literally, India does not enjoy any good relationship with any of its neighbors. India has dispute with Pakistan. India has a dispute with China. India has a border dispute with even Nepal also. So India is not likely to, especially in the present regime, India is not likely to improve their stance, and they are not likely to act on any of the SCO charters also. And since 2017, we have seen that India and Pakistan became full members. Pakistan has almost fulfilled all the obligations which were there in the charter of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. But we have seen India not fulfilling a majority of them, especially in terms of the trade, especially in terms of the easy visa regime for the SCO countries, and in terms of developing people-to-people contact. So we have seen India not acting on these things, which of course, once the head of the states will be meeting in September, I think this should be in the agenda, that where the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Secretary General and the other people should be asking India that why they have not been fulfilling the basic charter commitments which India signed along with Pakistan in April 2017.
Now, amongst the objectives of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is to develop a framework for cooperation in different spheres. And of course, we've talked about trade, we've talked about people-to-people contact, but there's also political sphere. Therein also there's a huge issue between India and Pakistan, especially on Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Then there is culture, science, technology, education, energy, transportation, connectivity, tourism, environment protection. There are a lot of other issues as well. Do you feel the countries are on the same page, maybe as far as environmental protection is concerned, transportation is concerned, energy, education is concerned?
Yes, before going to India, let me first tell you about the commitments which Pakistan have been fulfilling in last 4 or 5 years. We have signed the agreement of railway with Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. A railway line will be laid from Tashkent to Mazar-e Sharif to Peshawar, and ultimately it would link with Gwadar Port and Karachi Port. Then the work in full swing is going on in Kasa 1000 project, in Tapi project, which are the energy projects. In addition to that, the road connectivity between Pakistan and Central Asia is being developed through Afghanistan. Pakistan in last couple of years has started the easy visa regime for the regional countries also. So Pakistan has been a very, very responsible partner in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and all the regional countries see Pakistan's role in Shanghai Cooperation Organization as of a very responsible state. And let me also tell you that Pakistan has not used SCO for any kind of dispute resolution or anything, because Pakistan views that all the disputes Pakistan is fully capable of resolving by itself, and we have not sought any kind of help from SCO. Now coming over to India, let's see India's last 5-year commitment with SCO. No worthwhile project has been started by India with the SCO countries. Rather, India in the last 5 years has been focusing on the projects with the USA, with the European Union, and with the other countries. And India, it seems that India is part of SCO just for the sake of it, but not for becoming a useful member of it. Or India may think that India will be able to make SCO as a dead horse like SAARC, but let me tell you that China and Russia and all other partners in the SCO are very, very serious, and they would not let SCO become a dead horse like SAARC and over there, because in SCO, India cannot influence to any of the countries, and Pakistan's role has always been acknowledged by all the regional states.
There are so many other countries, Khalid Sahab, apart from Pakistan and India, that are part of the SCO. You just talked about some of them. But there are other issues of cooperation that could be tackled in the current situation as well. For example, environment, and we've seen the environmental pollution. We've seen how Pakistan and India both are affected by it. We've seen how air pollution affects it during the crop season, the height of the crop season, how by burning the crops it causes a lot of air pollution as well, heat waves and so many other things. Don't you feel a common consensus could be developed on that? Then education as well. Don't you feel the countries could get together to evolve some kind of a system of providing quality education to all of the SCO countries?
Yes, first of all, let me tell you about the climate change. I strongly feel that SCO must develop a regional platform for the climate change. Unfortunately, in our region, in South Asia, Central Asian region, we do not have any particular independent organization which deals with the climate change, as the climate of the regional countries affect each other. So yes, this is a very good idea, and hopefully the SCO head of the states would ponder upon them, and SCO will have a climate change theme, or take climate change as one of their major issues. Up till now, there is no regional mechanism, but hopefully it will be. Secondly, as far as education is concerned.
Yes.
Yes. As far as education is concerned, let me tell you that I'll again give the example of Pakistan, that in last 5 years, Pakistan has started recognizing the degrees of Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and right now there are thousands of Pakistani students who are studying in these countries, and Pakistani universities have started offering special packages for the students coming from this region. This is quite a good achievement, and SCO is currently working. The SCO Secretariat in Beijing is currently working a lot to get countries closer on the platform of academia, think tanks, and people-to-people contact.
All right. What about science and technology? Do you feel some kind of mechanism could be evolved during the course of this year? We've got the meeting of the foreign ministers, then of course of the heads of state. Do you feel it's an important point that needs to be catered to?
Yes, it's a very important point because science and technology, and especially information technology, is one of the core areas on which the SCO Secretariat is working. Let me also tell you that right now the SCO chairmanship is with Uzbekistan, and the Uzbek president, His Excellency Shavkat Mirziyoyev, is quite a dynamic man. And the new foreign minister of Uzbekistan, Norov, is the former Secretary General of the SCO. So this is quite a combination where tomorrow the former Secretary General of the SCO, who just finished his 3 years tenure in this January, will be hosting all the SCO country foreign ministers. So he is in a very comfortable position to talk about the problems and to talk about the issues which SCO is facing. And the SCO, since the presidentship of the SCO is with Uzbekistan, so the president of Uzbekistan has made it a special point that this year he will be talking on the IT, on railway connectivity, on road connectivity with the SCO heads of the states, because we know that most of the SCO countries, especially the Central Asian countries, are landlocked countries. They do not have access to various things, and they are.
And Uzbekistan itself is a doubly landlocked country. You talked about landlocked, yes. The country that is hosting is a doubly landlocked country.
Yes, it's a double landlocked country, and then we have Tajikistan. It is also a double landlocked country. So they are very much looking forward towards the bigger partners like China and Pakistan, because we are the closest to them, and they look forward towards Pakistan and China for laying the new fiber cable, the new fiber cable which they want to get linkage to the marine cable which is coming.
Let's hope, Khalid, Taimur, Akram Saab, that during the course of this meeting of the foreign ministers, and then inshallah in September when the heads of state will meet, that some kind of common consensus comes out in this current day and age where there are different issues that plague the world. The SCO becomes a very, very important and paramount organization for the countries of this region to forge a united consensus on important issues and to be one on important topics that pertain to our region. And I think the SCO, inshallah, in the days and months to come, will prove to be exactly that. Thank you very much, Khalid Taimur, Akram Saab, Executive Director, PRCCSF, to have joined us to talk about the foreign ministers meeting of the members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that will be happening in Uzbekistan. Our foreign minister, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Saab, is going with the delegation there as well. Let's hope for the best. Let's come to our last three topics, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly. The first is Pakistan pulling out of the 44th Chess Olympiad in protest against India's politicization of sports. Now, the Foreign Office statement that has recently been released says that India's mischievous attempt to mix politics with sports has led to Pakistan deciding not to participate in the 44th Chess Olympiad that is being held in India. Pakistan, as per the statement, will also raise the matter with the International Chess Federation at the highest level. Pakistan had been, of course, invited by the International Chess Federation to participate in this Olympiad that was scheduled to be held in Chennai from the 28th, that is today. Narendra Modi Sahib has inaugurated it, to the 10th of August, and Pakistani contingent was already training for this event. Nevertheless, what happened is that India chose to politicize this sporting event by passing the torch relay through the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir region. The torch relay passed through Srinagar on the 21st of June, and as a result of that, Pakistan has decided not to send its delegation to participate in this tournament. Next is the rupee's fall as far as the dollar is concerned. 239.9 is the last we saw at the State Bank's website as far as the dollar versus rupee parity is concerned. There are many questions, many reasons as far as the way the rupee is sliding is concerned. A lot of people talk about the political situation, other talk about Pakistan's outlook, other talk about the responsibility of the society at large, and so on and so forth. But the fact remains that the rupee is weakening vis-a-vis the dollar. Let's hope that once the IMF money comes in and the delegation also visits and other countries start strengthening Pakistan through various means possible, that all of this rupee sliding will be reversed in the coming days. That is all we can hope for. Nevertheless, the rupee is sliding to an all-time low vis-a-vis the dollar. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I always try to end on a positive note, and Pakistani scientists have developed this is interesting, have developed a low-cost antibacterial fabric that can be used for wound dressing, for lab coats. A lot of technicians wear that, doctors wear that, masks and various type of packaging materials. Now, the team has been led by Saadat Majid, who is the Associated Professor, Division of Analytic Chemistry at the Bahauddin Zikriya University in Multan. It is a joint collaborative effort of the Bahauddin Zikriya University, Multan International Centre for Chemical and Biological Sciences, Karachi University, Nishtar Medical College, Government College University, Faisalabad, and Abbasi University, Islamabad campus. We all know that bacteria are the most important cause and common cause of infections worldwide. Nevertheless, when you make material that is prone to bacteria and that could help a lot of people, prevent so many diseases, and it's also low cost. There's a double benefit there. That could really help our industries. That could also help the way Pakistan exports certain items. Maybe someday we'll be able to export the lab coats and the masks, because of course COVID-19, as per what I understand, is not going anywhere. So we'll be wanting to wear as much of mask as possible if we do follow the SOPs, and so this becomes important. Nevertheless, in research, in scientific studies, Pakistan and Pakistani students and institutions have always led since the last couple of years, and will continue to inshallah lead. And we are extremely proud of innovations that scientists and engineers and universities in Pakistan are coming up with almost every month of the year, and we hope that they'll continue to do so in the future as well. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah with new news segments and stories pertaining to Pakistan, us and this region. Nevertheless, in the meantime, till I see you tomorrow again, do try to follow the SOPs, and if you've not been vaccinated, do get yourself vaccinated or boosted, and try to avoid crowded places so that COVID-19 does not spread any further. Allah Hafiz.